So our last story comes from USNI News. This is Mallory Shelbourne and our buddy Sam Lagrone over there. The U.S. Navy is announcing a delay into the construction of the new frigate, the Constellation class frigate, of 3 years. Story here, the lead ship in the class of guided missile frigates, the Constellation, under construction at Fincantieri Marinette Marine in Wisconsin, may not deliver to the fleet until 2029. 3 years later than the original 2026 delivery goal. The program's delay came to light as part of a 45-day shipbuilding review that Secretary of the Navy Del Toro ordered earlier this year. In addition to the frigate delay, the Navy confirms delaying the delivery of the aircraft carrier Enterprise and the lead boat of the Columbia-class ballistic missile nuclear submarine and the Virginia-class attack boat. This is from the summary that was issued on this, and it shows you the delays. Now, I did an entire video here. You can go all the way up in the far corner up there and look at the shipbuilding video where we talk about this. You have multiple problems with the U.S. Navy delivering ships on time. So the future District of Columbia ballistic missile submarine is approximately 12 to 16 months late. Block 4, this is the 4th variant of the Virginia class of nuclear submarine, is 36 months late. Block 5 of the variant is 24 months late. This impacts not just the U.S. Navy, by the way, but also Australia, which is part of the AUKUS deal, where Australia, U.S., and the U.K. are helping build the submarines, nuclear submarines for Australia. The Enterprise is going to be 18 to 26 months late. Enterprise is the fourth carrier that's going to be delivered. You have the Ford, you have the third, the Ford, the John F. Kennedy, and the Enterprise, followed by Dory Miller. Let me be clear, Ford was delayed immensely, but John F. Kennedy CVN 79 is going to take 10 years to build. 10 years. Enterprise now is pushing the same thing. We need to build carriers every 4.5 years if you want to maintain 11 carriers. If you want to maintain 11 carriers in the U.S. Navy, you need to be building carriers every 4.5 years. It is taking 7 to 10 years to build aircraft carriers. We're not going to have 11 aircraft carriers, let alone 12 like some people want to talk about. Constellation, which is a FREM class frigate, that you see these frigates out in the Red Sea right now. France and Italy have them out there. This is going to take an additional 36 months. The reason we chose the FREM frigate is because we were going to basically build a FREM frigate that was off the shelf. We were going to build, basically, the only thing we were going to change was like 15% of the frigate and change it over. Well, reports are coming in that we've changed roughly 80% of the frigate. And when we gave the contract to Fincantieri, we had only given them 80% of the plans. So this is like trying to build a house where you give your your construction guy the plans for your house, but you don't include, I don't know, the first floor. This is a problem. And now we're not going to see this ship until 2030, in my opinion. You're just not going to see it. And again, we're not going to see a major combatant vessel. The new sonar surveillance boat is going to be delayed, and then we're seeing delivery delays in a series of other projects, including amphibious vessels, oilers, and Burke-class destroyers. This is at a time when the Chinese Navy is pumping out ships left and right with very little indication that they are slowing down at all. One of the reasons I go back to this is because the U.S. has gotten out of building commercial ships. This is a thing I hop on a lot. If you look at the 3 largest shipbuilders in the world today, China, which builds 44% of the world's ships, Japan and Korea, which split between them 50% of the world's ships, they not only build commercial ships, but they build the navies. The Chinese, Korean, Japanese navies are large, robust navies. And those Navy vessels are built side by side with container ships, tankers, LNG carriers, you name it. The U.S. doesn't build commercial ships. Why? Because we deregulated the industry. We got rid of all the mechanisms that help build ships that are used in Japan, China, and Korea, by the way. And the focus of the U.S. Navy has largely become to be a power projection force. I am right now reading a new book by my buddy Nick Lambert over there, The Neptune Factor, which talks about Alfred Thayer Mahan and the true meaning of sea power. And kind of hard to see in the title of the book, But when you look at it, Sea Power's got the little number sign there for Sea Power, because the issue that Nick talks about quite rightly is that the issue here is trade and economic and commerce. And what had happened is the U.S. Navy bifurcated. The U.S. Navy focused on power projection, kind of what we did at the end of World War II, did it in Korea, did it in Vietnam, did it during the Gulf War, did it during Iraq and Afghanistan, and now the U.S. Navy finds itself protecting trade in the Red Sea, and it's a mission it's not crazy about. And that is not just a problem there, but it's a problem in U.S. shipyards where we're not building ships anymore. And the result is that chart you saw with delay in U.S. shipbuilding programs, because we don't have the depth of shipbuilding. Yes, building a container ship is different than building a Block 5 Virginia-class submarine, but fabricating of steel, of engines, of machinery, of equipment, is all the same. Electronics, cables, all that stuff. It's all the same. And let me be clear, there's some really sophisticated commercial ships out there. Go look at an LNG carrier. Really sophisticated. When you're not building them here in the United States, that has an impact. And it's not just the United States. Great Britain is finding this out. Europe's finding this out. We're seeing everything shift over to East Asia, to Japan, Korea, and China. And while Japan and Korea are allies, they do face issues. And we're seeing that right now. So I hope you take a look at today's stories, those 5 stories, looking at the choke points in the Red Sea, in the Panama Canal, and in Baltimore. Look at the port state control authorities executed by the U.S. Coast Guard. That's being done in countries around the world today to inspect. Take a look at the Trans-Pacific negotiations going on for how freight rates are being impacted by issues like closures of the Red Sea and the Panama Canal, including Baltimore. Talk about the NTSB report, how there are accidents happening on the high seas all the time, and even in our inland waters. We just don't see it. If I had shown you the Allianz annual report when it comes out, you would see that basically accidents around the world in shipping is decreasing over the past decade. We're actually much safer than ever before. But due to the volume and velocity of trade we do today, when accidents do happen, they tend to be big and they tend to be catastrophic. And then finally, the woes of Navy shipbuilding. It is a big problem in not just the United States, but around the world.